What up, world? It's your boy JusRzd, and today, we're finally reviewing the finale of the Acolyte. So let's get into it.
Do me a favor. Go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things that you know you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, we on YouTube now. What are you doing?
Welcome back to the channel, guys. As you can see, my surroundings look different. Your boy's on vacation. Shout out to the wife, shout out to the kids. Your boy's on family vacation. And I wanted to shoot this before the finale actually, I wanted to shoot this before we left. But due to time constraints and due to different things going on and us prepping to leave, wasn't able to get it done. So here I am on vacation, filming a review for you guys. And I really want to talk about the show. The Acolyte season finale. Forgive the nasal tone of my voice. My allergies been kicking my butt since I got down to where we're vacationing at right now. And yeah, it's annoying. It's very annoying. So if you hear your boy sniffle throughout this, the struggle is real. But let's kick it off. Spoiler warning out the gate. The episode starts where the last episode 7 ended with Osha wearing the cortosis helmet and breathing deeply and just kind of almost having a panic attack while she was in there. But it looked like she was once she took it off, she was able to say that she did have a vision while she was in there. But as she was in there hyperventilating, we had Chimere on the outside trying to help her taking it off, and it looks like he almost got possessed by her, in a sense, by the dark side. His eyes went completely black, and he shifted to like a different space. Looked similar that had a similar look to what happened to the young Padawan back in the day when Mother Anastasia entered his mind. So that was an interesting little tidbit. So then they had a brief little dialogue about what happened. She told him about a force vision she had about May extending her his hand. I mean, May extending Osha her hand, and Master Soul, her confronting Master Soul and possibly killing him. And Chimere was listening. He was just like, "Oh, that was a little different than the vision that I saw about the future." And she was like, "Well, the future's not set in stone. I can help her and I can stop her." So they end up leaving the cave. They end up leaving the planet, and they end up heading to Osha and May's home world, because of course Osha, seeing the vision, knows that that's where May and Soul are. And as they leave the planet, we get a quick close-in shot of the cave, and we see a hand, and then we see a shadowy face, and it was a slight cameo to Darth Plagueis, who Darth Plagueis, if you know about Star Wars lore, is the master of Palpatine. And yeah, so that's a big deal. That's a pretty big deal that he's been there the whole time, just chilling in the cave like Herbert the pervert. Like, just a little weird though. I ain't gonna hold you. You just been sitting in the shadows of the cave the whole time with the people in the. Yeah, it's a little weird. Just a little weird. Just a little weird. Just saying. But just a little bit. Just a little bit. Anyway, so then we cut to Soul and May, and May's still trapped to the chair. Or to the table, and she's talking to Soul. As she's talking to Soul, she's trying to break out of the chair, and she ends up using the little droid to break out of the chair. When she breaks out of the chair, her and Soul are talking, and she ends up tasing them, and they're running to the escape pod and escaping from the ship. As she escapes from the ship, Soul proceeds to chase after her. And it looks like they're going through some ring. It looked like it was around the moon and not a planet, but they end up chasing each other in this the ring that's around this moon or whatever. And Soul gets super close to the point of trying to disable her ship, and then good old Basil stops him because he doesn't know if he's trying to kill her or if he's just trying to stop the ship. So it looked like Soul was trying to at least disable the ship so he could bring May back. And of course, Soul as they're sitting there, as they were going through the whole confrontation, he sets his emergency beacon so that way the Jedi can find them. May ends up crash landing into their whole world and making her way back to, of course, the Coven, the little Coven area that she grew up in. And Soul ends up landing on the planet safely and makes it back to the Coven. Coincidentally, May ends up climbing from where she fell when she was a child. She ends up climbing up that way, and Soul ends up entering from another way. And he's looking for her, of course, and we get to see the Force echoes that he's hearing from the different events that happened there that he remembers, just considering he hasn't been there since. And since everything went down when the twins were children. And of course, as he's there, Osha and Kamir end up arriving, and Kamir ends up finding Soul in the main courtyard. They end up starting to fight, and then Osha finds May in their old room, and they begin to exchange hands as well, which actually was a pretty dope fight scene. That's one thing I can say. The Acolyte has actually provided us some fire fight scenes, lightsaber duels, and just hand-to-hand combat. There have been some fire fight scenes in this series. And so, of course, Kamir and Soul are going back and forth. Kamir pulls out his dual blades, tries to go crazy on Soul. Soul's not having none of it. He even throws the blades at one point in time. Soul hits him with the it does his dope force push move. Yeah, I told you that. I was hyped. I was hyped for that whole fight. And of course, while this is all taking place, we see back on Coruscant in the Jedi Temple, we see the master that I can't ever remember her name, but the master with the laser whip lightsaber. We see her just kind of trying to figure out and locate where Soul is and try to figure out and see what's happening. And they end up, of course, one of her Padawans comes up to her and is just like, hey, we located where Soul's at. And she's like, all right, ready my ship and get all the Jedi Knights that you can that are available to come with me. And so they end up going off planet. And before she leaves, she actually ends up having a conversation, and we're introduced to a new member of the Senate. And this member of the Senate is one that's trying to pass a bill to where they can pretty much investigate and check the moves of the Jedi, and so they're not just this autonomous religious cult, just kind of doing whatever they please. And of course, he's not really a fan of how the Jedi operate and how they move. And he explains that in their conversation, and she's not a fan of him because she feels like he has an ought against the Jedi, which low-key he kind of does. But it was just interesting to see that discourse, and to actually see the Senate kind of play a part in this. So we cut to that. They end up actually arriving while everybody's fighting. So while May and Osha are fighting, and while Soul and Kamir are fighting, they actually end up arriving on the home world of May and Osha. And as soon as she steps off the ship, she actually senses. She uses the Force to sense the fact that Kamir is her former pupil. The whole time she thought he was dead, and she's like, "Oh shoot, you're alive!" And of course, as soon as he realized that she senses her, that she senses him, he puts his helmet back on and disappears. I know I'm jumping around the timeline, but I just certain aspects kind of stuck out to me a little bit more. Like, I love her use of the Force in this episode, and just really pretty much seeing how much mastery she has over the Force when it comes to just her powers. I thought that was dope. But anyway, back to the fight. Anyway, Osha and May, they're scrapping. They're going hand in hand against each other. And shout out to Amanda Stenberg, because she did her thing through this whole series. She's been a bright spot for me personally in this show, because most of her scenes, whether she's playing May or whether she's playing Osha, have been really good in my opinion. and just seeing her character motivations and seeing the different choices she chooses to, whether it's from her emote or just the emotion she brings, just to slight like facial ticks and changes that she has when she's playing both characters. So that was dope, just to see them fight, see the choreography. That was cool. As soon as they see the ship landing, though, May ends up disappearing, and she ends up she tried to convince. This is what started the whole fight between her and Osha in the first place. Is she was trying to tell Osha that Soul lied to her the whole time and that he's the one who actually killed their parents. And Osha lets her know straight up, like, Soul never blamed you for anything, but I got kicked out of the Jedi Order because I couldn't control my emotions when it came to dealing with you. And yeah, so that's why they started fighting. But like I said, May disappears when the ship comes and everybody notices, and she ends up making it to the main courtyard. But before she makes it to the main courtyard, Soul and Kamir are still fighting, and Soul ends up besting Kamir, and just pretty much saying that you're gonna answer for your crimes. And before he could like actually arrest him or just hold him there until the Master Jedi and all the Jedi Knights show up, he gets disarmed by May from behind, and then him and May start having a conversation. Of course, Kamir's still standing there looking defeated in the background, and Soul just pretty much confesses everything. He's like, look, man, you and your sister aren't twins. You actually aren't even sisters. You're the same person split into two people. And it's something that Mother Anastasia did with the vergence of the Force, and she was able to split one being into two different people. And we're trying to figure out how she did that, and we're trying to protect that information, because that's very dangerous information to get into the wrong hands if people just found out that you could do this. And so he's explaining all that, and so he was just like, May was just like, oh, so that's why you killed her. It looked like he was about to try to figure out a lie, and he was just like, yes. He finally admits it. It's just like, yes, I did. That is, I killed her. And of course, as soon as he admits that, Osha's standing behind him. It's like, is that true? He's like, it is true. I didn't really like his confession because it didn't seem sorrowful enough. As much guilt as he was holding over for that whole situation of killing her parents, killing her mother that long ago, and just the guilt he felt for not being able to save both of them. It's just like the way he was trying to explain that to Osha just felt insincere to me. I felt like he was trying to justify it instead of being like, I was wrong and it was an accident and I shouldn't have done that. Because even in the flashback, when they showed him killing their mother, like, it didn't look like he was trying to necessarily kill her. It looked like he kind of moved out of fear and ended up killing her, and it was just like, oh shoot, I didn't mean to do this. And so it was interesting to see, like I said, just him trying to explain. So the whole time he's trying to explain, and he gets close enough to Osha, and Osha ends up snapping and ends up force choking him, and he's sitting there like, I can't breathe. And Kamir's sitting there shocked, and he was bewildered at the whole conversation in the first place because he didn't even know that you could do that. He didn't even know that you could split one person into two different people. So he was shocked the whole conversation. But yeah, so she ends up force choking Soul, and Soul lets her know while he's getting force choked. He's like, look, it's okay. I've already accepted my fate. I've confessed to you my wrongs. It's okay, Osha. If you want to kill me, you can kill me. And Osha just ends up choking the life out of him using the Force. And then Kamir disappears because he's noticed by the Master Jedi when she lands on the planet. And then Osha and May end up leaving. And then Osha and May end up leaving through the way that May ended up being able to survive her fall when they were little kids. They meet back up at the big tree, and of course they have their sister to sister moment, and Osha breaks down and says she forgives May, and May apologizes, and they just have a beautiful moment. And then in the middle of it, Kamir ends up finding him. He's like, look, if I can find y'all If I can find y'all, the Jedi can find y'all. And it was interesting because when he pulled up on him, he snatched Master Soul's lightsaber from him. Like I said, May disarmed Master Soul and tossed his lightsaber, and then Osha picked up the lightsaber. And when she had the lightsaber, it looked like she was going to use it on Soul as she was force-choking him, but she just ended up force-choking him out. And then Kamir tried to comfort her because she broke down after that moment. And as she was force-choking Soul, she ends up bleeding the Kyber crystal red. And when Kamir tried to comfort her, she pulls the lightsaber out on him and realizes that she just changed Soul's blue lightsaber into a red lightsaber. And that was very significant. And so of course, back to current times, Kabir was like, look, man, what are y'all trying to do? Because the Jedi's finna find us. And Osha makes a decision. She says, look, let my sister go and I'll be your pupil. And so of course, Kabir, wanting a pupil, wanting the power of two, as he said previously in the series, he's just like, all right, well, I can try to see if I can wipe her memory so that way they can't use her to try to find you, because that's what the Jedi would probably do, is use May to try to find Osha. And of course, at first, before Osha even made her decision, she was just going to turn herself and May into the Jedi and be like, we'll just beg for mercy with the Jedi. Like, they'll understand once we explain everything. And Kamir was just like, look, man, once they see how powerful you are, they're going to kill both of y'all. They're going to kill both of y'all once they see how powerful you are. So they were like, dang, you're right. So that's when she was like, you know what? I'll be your pupil, but you got to let my sister go. So he ends up wiping May's memory, and him and Osha end up leaving and going back to the planet that they were once on, with the cave with the creepy Sith, Darth Plagueis. And the episode for them pretty much ends there, and then May ends up getting captured by the Jedi with no memory of what has transpired. And then we cut to the Master Jedi meeting with the Senate and pretty much confessing everything that transpired and putting all the blame on Soul. So still kind of not being truthful with the Senate with everything that transpired, because she doesn't want the Jedi to look even worse than what they currently already do. So of course, the person in the Senate who wanted to set the Jedi up for external review so that way they can be checked continues with that notion in the middle of the Senate, and they proceed to pass that as a law so that way they can be externally checked. And then the Master Jedi ends up talking to May by herself and just pretty much revealing everything that transpired. Reveals to her that she actually has a sister named Osha. Reveals what Master Soul actually did, and she even uses May to try to help her. She pretty much propositions her. She was like, look, I can help you find your sister, but first you got to help me find my pupil. And pretty much talk about Kabir without saying his name. And then the final scene of the episode, we see the Master Jedi reporting to Yoda everything that happens and pretty much telling him the truth. We don't get to see the confession, but we pretty much see her pull up to Yoda's little living quarters and begin to tell the truth. And then the episode ends after that. And not gonna hold you, it was a dope finale considering what happened in episode 6 and episode 7. It was a dope finale considering what happened in episode 6 and episode 7. It was interesting that they revealed not only Darth Plagueis but also Yoda. The one thing I didn't like though with the reveal of Yoda is, why did it look like the OG trilogy Yoda? It looked like puppet Yoda and not CG Yoda. CG Yoda, like, this is all supposed to have taken place before episode 1, 2, and 3. So, like, if it's supposed to take place before then, Yoda should be looking younger than he did in the OG trilogy. The OG trilogy Yoda looked super frail and old. And when they pulled up, it looked like they were looking at the back of puppet Yoda and not CG Yoda. So that was one of my complaints and nitpicks. But I get it. It is what it is. It was probably cheaper to use Puppet Yoda than it was to use CG Yoda. So I get it. Budgetary restraints. I get it. But yeah, man. This series is interesting because I've heard rumors that they originally went into this wanting to tell a story where the Sith were the protagonists and the Jedi were looked at as antagonists, but Lucasfilms kind of stopped them from doing that. And so, if that is true, it would make sense as to why some of their plot points and some of the storytelling aspects were a little bit jumbled and all over the place, and why they were kind of grasping at straws when it came to a lot of the Jedi storyline. But they were super interesting and intriguing when it came to the Sith storyline, because some of the best plot points of this whole story was the stuff with Chimera and May, and then even the stuff with Chimera and Osha. But the stuff that was just kind of seemed like super drawn out and super like, all right, enough, was the stuff with Soul and the 4 Jedi that pretty much causing that incident at me and Osha's whole world. So it was just it would have been better if they would have just focused more on Chimera, Osha, and May, and less on the Jedi and what transpired, and holding that secret so tight to chest. Like they should. I just feel like that flashback. I feel like it could have been done better. I would just say that it wasn't the worst thing I've seen, but the whole series as a whole could have definitely been done better had the focuses been able to be what they originally intended. And because of that, I'm gonna probably give this finale an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8 because the fights were fire, and where they left the characters, it would be dope to see a season 2. I don't know if they're gonna get a season 2 just because of how expensive this series was, and I don't know if it yielded the results that they were looking for. But it would be dope to get a season 2 and see them possibly be able to get creative control over how their story is going to be told. But we'll see how that goes. But like I said, I'll give the episode an 8. But my overall rating for the series, I'm going to probably give it like a 6.57. Just because it was better than Boba Fett, in my opinion. It's better than the Book of Boba Fett. Because I just felt like Book of Boba Fett just didn't really have a story that they really needed to tell. But the Acolyte was definitely better than Book of Boba Fett, and the fights were amazing. And it introduces us to some interesting characters. We got Basil, the adorable tracker. We had Maya Osha. We had Chimera, Darth Plagueis, Yoda. Like it had a lot of fanfare. It had a lot of dope Jedi. We had Trinity. We had Master Soul. We had all these the Wookiee Jedi. We had a lot of dope, and we actually got to see the Wookiee Jedi fight. So I was hyped about that. So I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna give it overall series. I'm gonna give it a 7. The finale episode, I'm gonna get 8. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you agree with my take, if you agree with my review. If not, if you feel like I'm tripping, let me know as well. We can chop it up in the comments. Let's just be respectful. And don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to be tapped in. So that way, anytime we upload a new video, you'll be the first one to know. And yeah, man, I did enjoy this series. I'm looking forward to see what else they do in the Star Wars universe. Hey, don't forget, it's FreeSoul to the soul free. Let's get it.